Most people believe their personality is a unique puzzle, a mix of random habits, chance quirks, and odd preferences that accumulate over time. But imagine if a major influence on who you are was determined before you ever took your first breath. Consider the possibility that your position in the family, whether you're the oldest, a middle child, or the youngest, has silently authored parts of your character without your awareness. Let's explore that idea, because once you notice it, you can't ignore it. Picture the firstborn child in any family. You can visualize them easily. They often stand a bit taller, speak with a bit more caution, and carry an invisible load of expectations. They didn't ask for it. They simply arrived first. Every eldest child is like a first experiment. Parents tend to be more anxious, more protective, and more focused on rules, so the child learns a lesson early on. If I do things correctly, I stay secure. That's how a sense of duty becomes embedded in their nature, like words carved into fresh concrete. They often become the organizers, the careful ones, who feel uneasy when relaxing and agitated when things are chaotic. It isn't about being perfect. It's the psychological reverberation of being the first small person two uncertain adults had to keep safe. Now, consider the middle child. They inhabit an unusual in-between space. Not old enough to take charge, not young enough to be constantly coddled. They learn quickly that attention isn't automatic, so they adjust. They become the mediators, the peacemakers, the social adapters. They read a room like emotional forecasters, sensing tension before it erupts. They know how to soothe, lighten the mood, amuse, or step back, depending on what the situation requires. Middle children typically avoid the limelight. Instead, they build connections. Because of this, they often mature into some of the most understanding and adaptable people you'll encounter. It's not just about being kind. The youngest learns, life isn't as rigid as it was for my older brothers and sisters. So they tend to explore further, take more chances. They become inventive, impulsive, occasionally defiant, and frequently charismatic. They don't shoulder responsibility like a heavy burden. They see it more as a guideline. People might label them as theatrical or easygoing, but the reality is more straightforward. The baby of the family learns that the world yields a little for them, not due to preferential treatment, but because the family unit is already more extended, more seasoned, and less brittle. Their personality flourishes in that more forgiving environment. And then there's the only child, a category all its own. They grow up in a universe constructed entirely around them, a world where attention isn't divided, where quiet is commonplace, and where self-sufficiency becomes instinctive. They tend to reflect deeply, act with maturity, and concentrate intensely because they learn early that imagination is the closest companion to siblings. It's not about being lonely. It's about self-reliance cultivated in a quiet space. Here's the important realization, though. None of this is destiny. Birth order isn't a prediction. It's a perspective. A lens that can clarify why you think the way you do, why your siblings seem like reflections under different light, and why you sometimes act in ways that puzzle you. It doesn't determine your personality. It gently pushes it. It forms the setting you grow up within, and your environment molds your psychology. You didn't select your role, but you learned how to navigate it. Look back on your own childhood. Were you the dependable one, the overlooked one, the rule breaker, the negotiator, the idealist, the conformist, or the adventurer? Ask yourself this: were those traits fundamentally you? Or were they learned, practiced, encouraged, and anticipated? How much of your character is genuinely chosen? And how much is a narrative handed to you the instant you were born? That's the thought-provoking part, because suddenly you're not just an individual. You're a pattern shaped by timing, by the moment you entered your family's tale. But here's the empowering part. Once you recognize the narrative, you can edit it. Firstborns can shed the burden of needing to be flawless. Middle children can stop diminishing themselves to maintain harmony. Youngest children can develop structure without sacrificing their vitality. Only children can welcome others in without surrendering their autonomy. Your birth order might illuminate your history, but it doesn't have to define your future. You are not confined to the role you were assigned. You are the author who decides how the story unfolds. So, does birth order influence personality? Absolutely, but not in the way most assume. It doesn't mold who you are. It molds the obstacles you had to adjust to. You molded yourself in reply. And that's precisely what makes you captivating. That's what makes you human. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you find your birth order stereotype fits, or do you feel you've broken the mold entirely? If this exploration resonated with you, please show your support by liking this video, subscribing for more discussions like this, and sharing it with someone who might find it interesting. Your engagement truly helps. We know from experience that some applications and functions have had negative consequences, but many still seem very useful and underappreciated. We often feel terrible after putting down the phone, left in a haze with vague negative feelings. How many times have you stopped scrolling only to be cooking dinner with a low-level dread that isn't tied to anything specific? Fortunately, more studies are being done to illuminate the nuances of screen time. A 2021 study from universities in China and Finland focused on apps and their impact on academic performance. It found that using specific applications can often improve performance, while excessive use of others can reliably reduce it. One specific problem most of us face is nomophobia, the fear of not being able to access your phone. That distracting sensation has you reaching for your phone when you should be focusing on work, just to make sure you're still connected and not missing out. In the study, social media, mobile games, music, video, entertainment, and casual reading were found to increase nomophobia. These activities also coincided with worse academic performance and struggles with insomnia. However, two types of apps actually improved academic performance: learning applications and news applications. Although news apps helped with academic pursuits, they did increase nomophobia. This isn't terribly surprising, but it's good to keep in mind. If you can start to frame some apps as positive and others as negative, you can steer your phone use in a more positive direction. This was just one study, but it points to what kind of smartphone use impacts our well-being. It's also important to note the study only addressed several apps. As more apps and platforms hit our screens, We need more guidance to make our phones a useful tool again. And do we really need to write off these other apps altogether? That seems imprecise. Much of the problematic smartphone use isn't unique to them. We've been addicted to the internet for much longer. For decades, we were accustomed to the constant stream of cable television. Social media started on computers before becoming a mobile phenomenon. The smartphone has brought these negative habits together in a much more convenient package. And like these previous formats, you can't simply write them off. They had value depending on their specific use. Sometimes we want to watch a documentary on our phone in bed. We like messaging family during a break. It's convenient to hear about a friend's birthday plans via a Facebook event. These are all examples of phone use that probably don't cause anxiety or mental fog. They're just pragmatic uses of a tool. Writing off these specific applications doesn't seem fair or thoughtful. If you're concerned about the impact of the companies behind these platforms, that's fair. But if we focus on their impact on our well-being, we need a more nuanced approach. To unravel these layers of negative phone use, we have to look not just at different types of apps and label them good or bad, but also understand why and how we use them to make a proper assessment. Video apps like YouTube can be distracting and feed us misinformation, but they can also enlighten us with brilliant video essays. You can find great information browsing the internet. You can truly connect with others in a meaningful way on social media. That's not what most of us use them for, but the initial promise of social media was to connect, and it still does that on some level, even if, on a larger scale, it's tearing us apart. Dismissing any type of phone use altogether will limit it needlessly as a tool. But if we evaluate our phone use based on why and how we are engaging with it, we can start to wield our hammer with greater precision. The idea is to consider the intention and results of our specific use. When we use a phone for deliberate and productive purposes, he calls it effectual. When we use it compulsively and unproductively, it's ineffectual. When the phone produces bad outcomes like depression, anxiety, and sleep disturbances, it's problematic use. If we want to use the phone as an effective tool and avoid negative effects, we should evaluate it as honestly as possible. Ask yourself, are you trying to do something productive? Did you deliberately make an effort to engage with it, or is your phone use compulsive? You've probably had the experience where you're doing an activity, blink, and suddenly you're scrolling a friend's feed. Or you felt a vibration and compulsively checked a meaningless update. What keeps you up at night? Scrolling Instagram or playing another round of a game? You probably have a good idea of what's causing you to lose sleep, and you should take that seriously. We don't always know where our anxiety and depression come from, but mindlessly scrolling social media is a safe bet most of the time. The feed is an endless stream of triggers. You see a clickbait headline warning about mercury in your diet. A former colleague brags about a new job. Someone is mourning a death while the next person celebrates an accomplishment. You put down the phone with your head filled with reasons to feel bad about yourself and the world. You didn't deliberately pursue these posts and feelings. They just popped up. Now, instead of doing something creative like writing or chatting with a friend, You shrink from the world, depressed and anxious. You didn't consciously decide to feel this way. Your smartphone habits took you there. But if you wrote down those negative feelings and where they came from, and made conscious decisions to avoid them, you could navigate your phone more effectively. In pursuing healthier phone habits, we can't be naive about the seductive nature of the feed. Some of us need to get rid of social media altogether to avoid getting sucked in. We don't have the defenses to stop it and have to go cold turkey, like quitting smoking. In some cases, recent technological developments have improved how we consume media. Television and movie streaming services took us from passively absorbing cable TV to making conscious decisions about what to watch. It may result in us sitting on the Netflix menu for half the night, but at least we made a deliberate choice. In general, we could use more information on what phone use is ineffectual and what is harmful. The study about academic performance offered good insight, but it's only a taste. I often wonder about gamified learning apps. On one hand, they teach helpful information like languages, but they lean into triggering the reward center in our brains to string us along. Duolingo, for example, tries to trigger a dopamine response with its achievement system and plays on our nomophobia with reminder icons. These gamified apps try to get us to play them compulsively. I wonder if the results suffer. Studies suggest we don't necessarily learn more from them compared to traditional methods, but we do enjoy the process more. These studies are from educational environments, however, not reflective of home use. Ultimately, we need to constantly recalibrate our phone use and question what our habits are doing to us. Do they enrich our lives or make us depressed and irritable? In the absence of perfect information, you can try to be more thoughtful and deliberate. You can turn off notifications and ignore your feed. You can take time to stop and consider everything you do on it, reminding yourself regularly to avoid the ineffectual and the problematic. There's a useful tool here just waiting to be born anew. We just need to reassess our habits, recalibrate our hammer swing, and be prepared for the next innovation that offers exciting possibilities, but also a new suite of potential consequences for our well-being. In addition to our phones, a new tool arrived just a few years ago, and we're still figuring out how to best use it: AI. It can save us a lot of time but can also take away our critical thinking ability. It can inform decision-making positively, but may mislead if the reporting isn't checked. For some creators, it enables projects that were prohibitively expensive, but it can also replace workers who would have been hired. We have an opportunity with AI to at least try to use it thoughtfully in our own lives. We can't control what the world does with it, but we can use it in a way that won't erode valuable skills and eliminate human creativity. It is a tool, after all. We can decide how to use it and how best to swing. As with smartphone use, we can work towards values that keep the technology from causing more harm than good. If we want to keep our use of AI deliberate and avoid slipping into compulsive behavior, we need to be wary of it casually slipping into our routines. You may have noticed Google's Gemini giving you a summary at the top of search results, or Meta's AI summarizing a discussion. These are AI uses that are borderline forced on us, sneakily inserted into our online habits. The Gemini answers often don't accurately reflect the best sources from search results. You need to verify the source yourself to see if it's reputable and actually answers your question. Fortunately, Google does place the content Gemini is sourcing next to the AI answer. On Facebook, AI summaries of chats might seem harmless but point to a larger issue. It threatens one of the few positive features of these platforms, the social part. Increasingly, content in our feeds and the pages themselves are generated by AI. The images that grab our attention and the copy and posts are not of human origin. Now, the summary of chats is AI, potentially based on a mix of human and AI commenters. Everything is starting to feel unreal. It feels less like the output of human beings and more like a social facade. If these trends continue, these networks will no longer be social. We won't be connecting with others. We'll be engaging with AI content and people who may not even be real. All of this is actively negative. It erodes our sense of reality online and disconnects us from real people. The only potential positive is that we might pursue human connections outside of a social media landscape that no longer feels human. While AI is used in many unseen ways, we should seize what's in our control and prevent ourselves from compulsively using it. One of the most common deliberate uses of AI is to generate writing. Office workers use it for emails and proposals. Students use it to structure essays, a polite way of saying it writes papers for them. Writing is laborious. It takes mental effort. Not everyone chooses a field that requires it, but it's an important skill that benefits humanity and the individuals who need it for work or hobby. We generate ideas in writing that don't occur otherwise. It allows us to explore a topic in depth to find new conclusions. Writing is where we learn to make a substantive argument. This is a valuable skill students miss out on when AI writes for them. These are skills almost everyone would benefit from having. If you want to use AI as a tool for your own betterment, this is not the right place. There is writing work that is redundant and distracting from your main pursuits, like compiling meeting notes. Using AI, there seems like a net benefit. When deciding how to wield your tool, try to distinguish between writing that is good for the mind and writing that just wastes your time. This distinction isn't always obvious, but it should be a useful guiding principle. AI is now being used for professional creative purposes. A recent holiday commercial for Coca-Cola was generated almost entirely by AI, and the technology is starting to be used in film. Many are concerned this overuse is replacing creative jobs. In our growing reliance, there are ethical considerations. Is it wrong to replace jobs with AI to save money? If you have a project you want to get off the ground but the only way is to use AI for images, is that wrong? The project wouldn't have happened otherwise. There's also the power and water consumption to consider. Google alone has admitted that due to the ever-increasing need for AI data centers, its power consumption has increased by 50%. When the energy sector produces a large percentage of greenhouse gases, is using power-hungry AI acceptable? Putting ethics aside, we have to consider the practical implications. Do we risk offending friends, clients, customers, or viewers by presenting them with AI-produced work? Is it not insulting that a human couldn't be bothered to write or make something themselves? Why pay for something from an individual who put in next to no effort? An important value to keep in mind is the human touch. There are many ways AI can support your work. The world is still filled with redundant tasks AI can do in seconds. But you should be honest about when it crosses the line and does the work for you, because at that point, you are not swinging the hammer at all. Technology is seductive. It may feel like we have little choice in how we use it. In many ways, it feels like technology is using us. But the reality is we're still working with tools, and we have control over how we use them. It's not the phone. It's not AI. It's you. Take advantage of that fact. If you found this perspective helpful and want more insights on navigating the modern world, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button if this resonated with you, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Your support helps bring more thoughtful content your way.